I was involved, and I've been a student of Shaykh Abdullah bin Bayez now for over 20 years. When he saw the Christians and all of these different groups being persecuted in certain places where civil society had broken down and there was a collapse, failed states, he wrote a policy paper and then he convened. It took him 3 years because he got together about 250 of some of the top scholars in the Muslim world, and he debated with them. And I was in on several of debates. They were fascinating. One particular one that I'll mention revolved around the particle min, which is it's a preposition in Arabic. And it revolved around that, and another about ma, the preposition ma, with. Debating about hadith, about how you could interpret this hadith when it says the Jews are a community with the Muslims. What does that ma mean? Because Ibn Hisham gives several possibilities, and he was making an argument, and he actually convinced one of the most notable scholars in Pakistan of his position based on the possibility of interpreting this. And this is why language was so important to the Muslims, because in order to communicate, we have to be speaking a language and recognizing the nuances of language. Because Arabic in particular is an extremely nuanced language, but all languages have subtleties and nuances, and if we lose sight of that, we lose the ability to communicate with one another. And then the idea of seeing the other person's perspective is very important. There's a story that they tell in the Middle East of Mullah Nasruddin or Joha, where he was on the side of a river and there was another man on the other side, and the man called over to him, "How do I get to the other side?" And Mullah said, "You're already on the other side." And the point of that is we often fail to see the other person's perspective. He was looking from his perspective, but the other man was looking from his. And so in order for us to be able to understand each other, we have to, in a sense, get in the other's shoes. There's a beautiful ayah in the Quran when the Prophet is commanded to discuss with his interlocutor. It says, وَإِنِّي أَوْ إِيَّاكُمْ لَعَلَى هُدًى أَوْ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. It says, either I or you are guided. In other words, let's come together and talk. And that O is a very interesting O, because O in Arabic can mean a lot of things. That one's called harfu atfin lil ibham. It's a very interesting O, because the Arabs have all these ways of speaking where they have multiple exit strategies. And this is very important in a society where you have tribalism and where what you say can actually get you killed. There's a famous story about one of the Khawarij who wrote a poem, and it said, وَمِنَّا أَمِيرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ Shakib, and amongst us we have the Amir al-Mu'minin Shakib. Well, they caught this man. He was brought before the caliph, and he said, "How dare you say that I'm the Amir al-Mu'minin, you're claiming you?" He said, no, I said, وَإِنَّا أَمِيرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ Shakib. He changed it from the nominative case to the accusative case, which switched the meaning, as if he's addressing the actual Amir al-Mu'minin. These are examples of how language was very important in getting people out of problems. And we were just talking earlier about the Oxford comma, also known as the Harvard comma if you're American. A $10 million lawsuit over the omission of a comma when you have three things together and you have an and. Some people say you should add a comma for clarity. So these truck drivers, who were either grammarians or they got a lawyer who knew grammar, were able to get $10 million in overtime, a lawsuit against this company because of the omission of a comma. So in a civilized society, language is extremely important. And this is why Shaykh Abdullah, in 3 years, he worked with these scholars, and it was all over language. And from that came, alhamdulillah, I translated his paper, and then he has the Marrakesh Declaration, in which he argues that jizya, which many Muslims think is the way that you deal with peoples of other faiths, that they have to pay jizya in submission based on chapter 9. There's a verse in the 9th chapter of the Quran that says that other peoples have to pay jizya. The Shaykh makes a very cogent argument that that was only one possibility. And he gives historical precedent for other possibilities, not just from Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second caliph, but from the practice of caliphs after that. There are periods where the Umayyads were actually paying the Byzantines to guard the borders.